Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of the David Simon Show. I am David Simon, if you don't know. We have a lot to discuss tonight. There's just turmoil all over the state, the United States, I should say, not New York. Well, New York has its own problems. We'll get into that. A brief review of what we discussed last week in the great fleeing of New York. I don't know how that preface is supposed to go. We also have a guest scheduled again from last week. We were supposed to have Black Mav. We're supposed to have Black Mav again. We're going to try that. Until then, we're just going to chat it up a little bit. I don't know what to say. As of this afternoon, the NBA is halt play. I don't know for how long. The league has issued a statement. Hold on, excuse me for 1 second. I normally like to have myself, broadcasting at the same time. So I have to do that now. Sorry, for the small pause. I should have did it in the countdown, but I was actually reading some notes, and currently I can't do it. What's the problem here? Are we broadcasting live on the Facebook? I don't see it. Bear with me, ladies and gentlemen. Bear with me, please. We are live, and sometimes it just doesn't go according to plan during live broadcasts. Okay, here we go. Broadcasts. All right. I'll just copy the link, and I'll just place it here, and compose a statement and create a post, rather. I don't know what Facebook is all about. Oh man, we're going to get into it. Don't worry, ladies and gentlemen. I am going to lay down some facts for you, some truths, no half truths, all truth, nothing but the truth. So help me God. Poor Jacob Blake. I mean, I don't know what's worse, being a part of the conspiracy that is basically turned this country upside down, or the fact that he admitted that he was carrying a knife, according to the press release that I just seen. We might as well start with that, because before this actual statement came out, I heard several comments, read several comments from people of different ethnicity than the African American. And they all have an opinion. They all have a view. And the main view was you shouldn't resist arrest. Now, prior to the information coming out today about Sunday's shooting, and today's Wednesday, the 26th of August, 2020, Sunday's shooting was the 23rd. I didn't have any information. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know why was the gentleman being shot, or what. What was the reason? Why were they trying to refrain him from getting in his car and going away? Because and my understanding of what the situation was he wasn't under arrest, so he was not resisting arrest prior to the statement coming out today. There still wasn't an issue of him being arrested. Okay, I'm not here to justify the shooting nor justify Mr. Blake fleeing the scene or leaving the scene. If there was a crime committed, that wasn't told to me. If there was a reason for him to be restrained or refrained from leaving, it wasn't told to me. What was told to me today was that he actually had a knife. I'll read the article, and you decide what the situation was. But the statements that were coming out, you can't resist arrest. That's why we are suffering. Black people are suffering these incidents of being shot by police, is because they're resisting arrest. Now, excuse me, Greg Floyd. Floyd was not resisting anything. He was in cuffs. He was on the ground. He was choked out. So Breonna Taylor, There is still speculations that she was not a part of the whatever conspiracy that has been told that her George Floyd. Thank you, Mr. Eficiato, I guess it is. I can't say for sure what the situation was that made them break into Breonna Taylor's home. They're saying that it was a drug den, a trap house. According to evidence, there were many transactions that transpired in her home or from her home, people leaving, people coming, supposed to be packages being shipped. I don't know if that is true or not. I haven't heard a statement from the authorities saying that they had concrete evidence or they arrested someone coming out of that house with any narcotics, or that someone that was affiliated with the situation told them that narcotics was being shipped. I don't know. But yet there are certain parties that able to justify what occurred. I'm still in the dark on the situation. I'm still in the dark with Greg Lloyd. Oh, sorry, let's keep doing it. George Floyd. I don't know who Greg Lloyd is. I got to look that up. It's somebody that's from my past. Okay, police used a taser to try to stop Jacob Blake before a single officer fired his weapon 7 times and injured him. Okay. My first initial thought on that interaction with Jacob Blake was, if he wasn't under arrest, why couldn't he leave? Let's get past that. If he didn't brandish a weapon, why was there shots fired? I mean, you don't shoot a person in the back if you're not a threat. You understand what I'm saying? Clearly, in fact, if you were accosted by a criminal, for instance, they came up on you, they brandished a weapon, they said, "Give me your money." You said, "No, I'm not going to give you my money. Get out of here." And you pull out a weapon, and that individual turns and run instead of firing the weapon that they have, and you shoot that person in the back, you would be held responsible for whatever occurred to that individual, a la Bernard Getz. You would be held responsible for whatever injuries that person suffers or sustains from you firing in his back, and you are a citizen. So you not knowing this as a citizen, you're not, how can I say, abreasted of the law. You're not a person that went through an academy and learned the law. So you should be excused of plain and simple. Your argument is of ignorance. But a person that knows the law and knows that if a person is back is turned to them, they are not a threat to you as the officer. You're not the victim of this. Jacob Blake is not a threat to the officer, knife or no knife. He wasn't a threat, therefore there was no reason to fire 7 shots in his back. Here we go. The Wisconsin Department of Justice Division of Criminal Investigation offered its initial timeline of the shooting after several days of protests in the state. Police responded with force as demonstrators torched cars and set buildings ablaze, demanding justice for Blake, a 29-year-old black man. Authorities had previously provided little information about Sunday's shooting of Blake, which was captured on video by a witness. Officials identified Officer Rustin Shesky as the police officer who shot Blake when he tried to enter his vehicle. The officer, who has been employed by Kenosha Police for 7 years, was placed on administrative leave, according to DCI, Division Criminal Investigation, I believe is what that's called. Give me one second. Division of Criminal Investigation, correct. All right. Officer Shesky fired the weapon into Mr. Blake's back. The state agency said in a news release, no other officer fired their weapon. Kenosha Police Department does not have body cameras, therefore the officers were not wearing body cameras. Wisconsin Attorney General Josh Quoll said in a news conference that the other officers involved in the shooting will be identified soon. Well, I don't understand why they have to be identified. I don't understand why they have to be identified. They had nothing to do with it. You understand? It was one person doing the shooting. It seems like it was a one trigger happy cop. Let's call it what it is. Trigger happy. Even if we already stipulated that Mr. Blake was not a threat to the officers. Now let's stipulate something else. Did it need to be 7 shots to get the man under control? I don't understand that. Patrick Salvi Jr., an attorney for the Blake family, said on Wednesday morning that Blake did not have a weapon in the car. In the vehicle, he did not have a weapon. Salvi Jr. told CNN, I can't speak directly to what he owned, but what I can say is his 3 children were in the car, and that was in the front of his mind. That is the most important thing to him in his life, his family, and his children. CNN has reached out to Blake's attorneys for further comment. The officers were dispatched to a home in Kenosha after a woman called police saying her boyfriend was present and was not supposed to be on the premises. The DCI said it's unclear whether the caller was referring to Blake, who survived the shooting and whose attorney said has not been able to speak very much while in the hospital on pain medication. They're saying he was reaching into his car. That's besides the point. One officer shot. One officer did the shooting. The other officers didn't see him reaching. Come on. Make sense of it. We're going to continue providing information to the extent that we believe is appropriate and consistent with protesting the integrity of the investigation. Protecting the integrity of the investigation. Kenosha Police Chief Daniel Mishkinish said Wednesday he could not comment on the shooting. Police have not provided any information as to what led to the shooting, and Blake, who survived the shooting, has not been able to speak very much while in the hospital on pain medication, Salvi said. Jacob Blake's sister, his family, in the words, we have not heard anything directly from police, he said. We've heard only the reportings that they've asked that people not rush to judgment. The stark contrast to that is that this officer seems to have completely rushed to judgment in the manner in which he handled this particular encounter. Absolutely rushed to judgment. He immediately believed that there was a firearm or that he was in jeopardy with his back turned. Okay, did you see the story today? 17-year-old kid shot 2 protesters. Police drove by the kid when they arrived on the scene. Police did nothing. You know why they did nothing? Because he was Caucasian and they didn't see him as a threat. This is what my whole point is about the scenario that is being set in front of us. It's all about fear and threat. Last night, tonight, Monday night, all of that conversation that the Republican convention is about is fear. They fear anarchy, or they fear that this country is going to hell in a handbag, but it's those that they allow to do as they please that is putting this country in jeopardy, in my humble opinion. Let me explain something to you, ladies and gentlemen. When a person's back is turned, as I said previously, they're no longer a threat. This officer, trigger happy Shitsky, immediately went to his fear mongering. All of this that he was told, it was an opportunity to fire his weapon. Now, LeBron James, I'm not a big fan of his. In fact, I've got a couple of pictures of him playing pretty dirty in the game that he plays for a career, basketball, elbow here, elbow there to certain players. It was a funny incident where he actually elbowed the father, Trent, and the son, Trent, that he's currently playing now, Trent Jr. But he said something that was very prolific and profound. He said that that we as people are the ones that are in fear. Doc Rivers said it as well. And that's not the way the situation is supposed to be. When you have control of the situation, I mean, when the authorities are called to the scene, they are supposed to be the ones in control. Now, I understand that the gentleman was trying to leave, but my point was they said that they used taser on him. It didn't stop him. You know, you pull out your baton and you give him a Rodney King. That's what in my humble opinion. If they felt that he was supposed to remain on the scene, like the article said, we don't know if he was the reason why they were called there in the first place. He had his children in the car, so I can't see that he came there for violence with some woman with his children in the car. Maybe he's that crazy. 29-year-old black man, he goes over there, he wants to have an incident with some woman that he's dealing with, and he wants his children to see for some reason. Okay, the man's insane. Still doesn't deserve 7 shots. Maybe his children taken from him, but not 7 shots. We go on. Following consecutive days of protest in Kenosha, the Milwaukee Bucks decided to boycott their playoff game against the Orlando Magic on Wednesday. The NBA announced it will postpone Game 5 of 3 different series in response to the Bucks' decision. Now, shout out to Aficionado, who just shouted out the Bucks. Well, the Bucks represent the Milwaukee, Wisconsin, so it is close to home. But let's talk about the NBA right now, real quick, while we have this little statement from the NBA that they're going to postpone the 3 games in support of Black Lives Matter, which, you know, everyone that seems to support Trump applaud that the ratings of the NBA playoffs is down tremendously. I believe that they should have played the games. Why should they have played the games? Because last week when I told you that the Democratic convention was happening at the same time as the playoffs jumped off, and it seemed to be a sort of a deterrent from people taking part into the Democratic convention. Like it was a substitute programming, counter programming, some sort. Look, you don't have to watch that boring programming. We got great programming here on the NBA front. And who's in charge of the ones that allowed the NBA to start, when to start, told them how to start? It was the government that is controlled by the Republican president, Donald Trump, who I think, if he said Black Lives Matter, would be booed at a Republican National Convention. He would be booed. They love him to death, but they would boo him if he said Black Lives Matter. That's why he hasn't said it. They said he's playing to his base. That's why he hasn't said it. His daughter last night said she's like us. She's looking for work as well. She has no idea how much she's like us. Looking for work. 40 million people unemployed. But she should be more concerned with the fact that her siblings are all sucking on the nepotism tit. And why isn't she sucking on the nepotism tit? Yet she supports her father, the president, instead of asking these very important questions. Why can't I receive some of the nepotism? She'd rather go up there and pronounce herself one of us. If she was one of us, she would hate him as much as we do. I don't hate Donald Trump as a person. I hate him as a president. He's not the best president I had in my lifetime, and I have several. I've had Carter. Don't remember him. I was young. Reagan. Let me tell you something. You think Biden is out to lunch? Reagan was out to breakfast, lunch, and dinner. George Bush Sr. First time I experienced war was with George Bush Sr. Clinton, the crime bill alone devastated the African American community. George Bush Jr. returned to war, not reading dossiers that would tell him to prepare for a terrorist attack. On and on. Backbiting and underhanded politics that supposedly had occurred during George Bush Jr. Administration. Barack Obama. Now, I'm not saying Barack was be all end all. He's had his flaws too. His attorney general was accused of Fast and Furious. He couldn't do anything about the mass shootings that were occurring. He never tried to challenge the NRA as the attorney general of New York has challenged the NRA. And now Donald Trump. So as I just give you that list of predecessors to Mr. Trump, President Trump, none of them were as bad as Mr. Trump. Now, I'm not saying that he could have seen a pandemic coming, but he fired the organization that could have. I'm not saying that he could have seen that the economy was going to eventually, balloon was going to burst, but it was seeping. Air was seeping out of the balloon slowly but surely the last 4 years. There was nothing done to prevent it. There was no cap. There was no raise in tax. There was nothing to prevent the crash that was eventually going to occur. Pandemic or no pandemic, this economy was going to balloon was going to burst. It was happening. Every president lies, even Honest Abe. I'm not saying that any president has come before Trump was any better at being able to dissect exactly what was going to occur, but let me tell you this: they did a better job at fighting it when it occurred. And I mean, the Katrina and Louisiana, Bush was in charge of. That was devastating. That was horrific. He pretty much did minimum to save lives. Minimum. Still a better job than what we're currently dealing with now. And now why I say they should have played the games for the counter programming that was offered last week. We'll get back to this. Let's bring the guests on. Let's do this, as they say.
What's going on, David?
Hey, same old jazz, man. Trying to these horrible days as a black man. How about yourself?
I'm doing blessed, man. A highly favored, man. It's it's an honor to come onto the show, have an opportunity to speak to you again. But real quick, man, I'm not trying to take up your show or anything, but I just want to personally, I would like to apologize from the way our discourse happened on the last occasion. I feel like, things got a little bit heated, for good reason. I don't feel like anything's wrong with having a heated conversation or debate, but I feel like the way that I approached it, it could have been done a little bit differently. You know what I'm saying? And I just want to go ahead and just let you know, man, that I apologize as a man if I said anything that you took personally, or if I came at you in a way that you felt was disrespectful, because that is not the type of individual that I am, nor do I want to be perceived as that. And also I try to give respect to anybody, black, white, Spanish, or indifferent, male or female. I try to give them the same respect that I would like to have for myself. So I just want to say you from man to man, my bad about that, bro.
And as a man, I'm going to accept your apology and offer you an olive branch as well.
Appreciate that. I had a lot going on that day. It was a lot going on. Going on.
Yes, yeah. And I spoke to RO Friday night. He sends his regards. I know you guys probably spoke since then. He explained to me that you are as genuine as they come when it comes to your community and how you better the situation there. Unfortunately, we're in a situation now where
we are.
On where Black lives still doesn't matter into the United States. And I'm sure you're out on the front line and trying to lead another gathering, protest, or situation to try
demonstration.
Yes,
we're not rioting out here. We don't support the rioting. I do believe that there is. I do believe that America respects violence, and I do. What's going on, brother? And also, I do believe that there's a time and place for everything. But that is not what I represent. That's not what I stand for, and that's not what I'm trying to push for the community or for the youth as well. But I'm not saying I disagree with everything that the young brothers was doing out there, because that gave us the opportunity to be able to have this type of conversation that we're having today.
Well, let me not undermine what you were doing, and I apologize if that's what it seemed like. I was discrediting your progress and your ability to reach your community as an artist as well as an activist. And you taught me something, that the two can still exist. An activist as well as I want to call you a hardcore MC, but that's my perception of you.
I understand. I prefer artists, but I understand if that's what you see from it, that's their opinion. I can't be mad at your opinion.
That's just from what my first impression was listening to your music. And
understand.
You probably have love songs and conscious raps as well. I just haven't been privy to it.
Well, I do have a question. You did ask me the last time, and I know this is the beginning of the show. You did ask me if I could spit that verse for you that was on the track with Aura. And maybe not right now, you know what I mean? This is your show, however you want to run it, that's fine. But I would love to spit that verse for you, so that way we could kind of dissect it and you can hear the revolutionary talk that I have in it as well, the positive upkick that I have.
Please, by all means.
Okay. All right. So it starts off like this. I'm gonna slow it down. It's a little bit up pace, and it's probably about 30 bars. Okay. But it's like, look, you want to get tough, jump up and get stuck. This ain't a scratch off, dog. Don't press your luck. I could give a fuck about suckers claiming you hard as Sparta, but when officers pop a partner, you soft as the Dalai Lama. You straight shot, you straight squatter. You're not a shotter, a rider, a freedom fighter like a starter, mobilizer with rifles holding that black 5 up, ready to die, stepping ahead of the guys, Beretta on side, letting it fly like who messing with mine. Although I'm stressing, I'm guessing they on their terror shit. If they second guessing, I'm guessing they don't know what terror is. Demented men with a pendant, that means the police, stepping like terrorists, gripping the children from women so quick it could tear their wrists. Mother terrified, inside mortified, paralyzed, scared to cry. Eyes can't do more than cry. That's why I mobilize like Bobby Still. Couple dreads in the lobby, have them saying Safi chill. On the wheel, I'd rather build and unify, but still get the chills from thrills when I was moving pies. Boulevard Star, my squad had them 2 for 9, but learned I couldn't serve 2 masters. I had to choose a side. Too many of us brothers out here serving time. Even me myself, I did it 2 to 9. Now I'm moving wide, trying to keep my youth in eye. Way these young pups getting murked, you swear they euthanize. Suckers scared to catch that fade. Rather shoot the 5. Extendo on the Big Mac, got a supersize. My brothers keep killing each other. Yeah, that's genocide. Why the coroner move us out the hood? Gentrify. That's the bar.
Fantastic. I'm glad you kicked that out here. I'm glad you slowed it down. I'm amazing. Dialect 718 thinks that they're bars. Serious bars, right?
I appreciate it. Yeah, I appreciate it, man. Now, I'm not gonna lie to you. Now, the way that I deliver it, it's fast, it's aggressive. You know what I'm saying? So I do understand that people might not be able to get the message the first couple of times that you hear it. But I promise you, when you dissect what I'm saying, I'm out here still trying to preach the positivity, trying to push the good message to the youth while trying to still captivate them and want to keep them entertained so they will listen to them. Because if I just go out there and say, hey, brothers, don't shoot each other, they go, I ain't trying to hear that mess. You old Nick, boom. You know what I'm saying? You old brother. So I didn't want to do that. I'm just trying to figure out how to mesh it together. You know what I'm saying? To create it so that way I can be conscious, I can still get love from the streets, but while I'm not looked at or as perceived as an ignorant young individual. You know,
Wait.
I'm trying to find a balance.
The truth about the matter is that you're a multifaceted individual, and you're
Yes,
not
sir.
simple. And
Yes.
and I have to take a step back to recognize the gift that you have and you're offering.
Thank you, sir.
And
Thank you, sir.
truth of the matter is, I was a little thrown by when you first got on and you started speaking, and you were speaking to positivity and stuff, and I was trying to figure out what was going on. Who are we talking to?
Right. He's like, hold on, wait, you the gangster, you the activist. Wait, which one is it, man? Like, what is it? And to be honest with you, over the last 7 years, I've definitely tried to move into the activist role, being a great father, you know what I'm saying, being a great leader of the community. But unfortunately, some of us still have that core inside of us of who we are and who we're trying to outgrow and who we're trying to, bury deep down inside of us, because that's not who we want to be. And unfortunately, it takes longer than a couple of years to untrain these 2 decades of negative attributes that I've had an opportunity to pick up. So it's just work in progress.
I apologize for bringing you back to where you trying to get away from.
Oh man, you brought me back, brother. Yeah, you brought me back.
I have that ability to bring the evil out of individuals, and
it was the passion. It was the passion, man. But the passion can turn evil if it's misguided or misdirected. So it started off passion, and then the evil came out, man. I got off of here myself, and I was like, damn, bro, you bugging. Right there. You bugging, man. I was like, you need to talk to David. You need to talk to David. So, man, I appreciate you for letting me having you back on the show, bro.
No, sir. It's when I heard that you wanted to be a part of the show again. I just imagined that you wanted to get another 5 minutes of telling me to go F myself. So
no.
I said I'm not going to be in fear of what we have going on. If that's what it is, you understand? Then that's what I do. But
I was the same way. When he said he let me back on the show, I'm like, oh man, now he about to get his 30 minutes to shine. I was like, he going to get out on me. But I was like, you know what? At the end of the day, if you're able to give it, then you got to be able to take it too. No homo, you know what I'm saying? No, but you got to be able to. It's duality, you know what I'm saying? It's the yin and the yang. So if I'm able to give it, then I got to be able to receive it too. So I'm willing to do whatever is necessary to create this dialogue, you know. And if you got to get out on me a little bit, I understand, brother. I understand. It's okay. It's okay.
Now the interview that we had prior, I'll make a classic of it because we had this Tatum Tay here that we have.
Hey, and I like that. Nice word.
And we're able to get beyond the misunderstanding. I should have been a little bit more scholar about the way that I approach trying to figure out what were you offering to my audience, well, Hiphopcitizen's audience, and not put you in a box or a just a plain simple MC that's trying to, how can I say, use the Black Lives Matter movement or the protest that was going on then
as a trend
to try to make yourself seem an activist. As an activist,
yeah, I'm righteous now, guys. Follow behind me. I'm all about the people. And then 3 months later, I'm rapping about selling crack and cocaine and Roxy City kids. I know. I got a couple of brothers like that, man, and I'm always talking to them about it. Trust me.
Well, and Little Baby, new song, Big Picture, where he says,
I love it.
I do rap about killing and dope, but I tell my people to vote. And I
people to go vote.
You immediately came to my mind at that moment because I said that's exactly what is going on with my man Black Math. He's purely an artist, but in your ability to be an artist, you're also a leader, and
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You express yourself as a leader in a more concise, clear objective than you do as an artist. As an artist,
most definitely.
So when I'm listening to you tell me something about the protest and you're leading the Black Lives Matter, I'm saying who's leading these people?
Right.
What is this guy leading them to? And
right. So good question. Good question. And you have all the reason in the world to question that. You know what I mean? So understandable. I definitely understand. Like who the hell is this guy? You talking about you leading the protest and the rallies, but you sound like you're on the street right now. So I understand.
What I like about you is the fact that as a leader, you got defensive and you said, look, I'm both. I could be both, and it was up to me to recognize or reconcile the artist and the activist, and accept you for who you are, and not try to understand from what my past is of artists and activists. I mean, the artists that are activists that I know are Chuck D, Carrie One, maybe even a little bit of Ice Cube. But
well, hold on 1 second though. Let's get on KRS-One. Remember, don't forget KRS-One. That's my man. That's one of the grandfather MCs. I look up to him. I don't look up to him, but I have a lot of respect for everything that he's done, the way that he's pushed the pen, the way that he's been able to speak about so many social issues and the injustices, and just bring it to everyday people's ear that would not normally be, that would not be so able to entertain it per se. But he did make a song called 13's Enough.
Okay.
He did make a song called 13's Enough, and he told a hell of a story behind it. It was a story.
But what was, he established himself as the teacher first, and then it allowed him to create other images or other stories to like you tried to do with the 30 for 30, communicate and reach the individual and their level.
Agreed. I agree with you 100%. I agree with that.
When you came to me as Black Mav, I thought you were only Black Maverick. I didn't know Black Maverick and Black activists. You understand?
Right. Well, let me break down the Black part. So the BLAK is Black Leader. All right. So the BLAK is Binary Lyrical Assassin Killer, and when you put it BLACK is Black Leader After Confidential Knowledge. And then Maverick, of course, is somebody that goes against the grain. It's a rebel. It's somebody that stands for what he believes in. So that's why I said I'm a Black Leader After Confidential Knowledge / rebel, or I'm that Binary Lyrical Assassin Killer, brother. Either way, but that's where the acronym comes from. It's not just Black. You know what I'm saying? I'm from the 90s. So when you had a name, it had to mean something. And I'm not even that dark to be called Black. So it had to, it really had to mean something. So it's Black Leader After Confidential Knowledge and Black Binary Lyrical Assassin Killer.
Yes, and we're all Black regardless. That's what
we are.
That's what we have to deal with. Now
we all shades. It's shades. It's just different shades.
Absolutely. And you were breaking down the history, which was phenomenal. And I really was interested in the fact that if you do preach the knowledge of your family inside of your lyrics to allow people to realize that you're a descendant of a slave, but that's not who you are. That's not what you are recognized as. You're still progressing and bettering from what you were brought here to do, like myself and my ancestors. You understand?
Right.
And I don't think that a lot of the kids today recognize that they're descendant of slaves. They actually think they're better than those individuals, and they're not. They have to recognize that they're still hold a position of a lower level, lower tier in this country, and that they have to carry themselves with a sort of dignity and integrity that doesn't allow them to be held as a slave or as I don't even know what's lower than a slave, but if this out there,
I don't think it gets any lower than that. Honestly, that's about the bottom of the totem pole.
That's absolutely true. And to say you're better than you don't escape it. You just make yourself look like a fool, because reality is we are still treated like such. So we would have to elevate our behavior and hold our heads up high, but not better than, but to be perceived better than, not
better than, right. Well, I mean, also another problem with a lot of the young, the youth today is that nobody, I'm not saying not, but the younger youth of today, they're not focused on knowledge, they're not focused on wisdom, they're not really focused on understanding, and I do understand that when I was in school, I was very intelligent. While I was in school, I just never did my homework. I always got A's on my paperwork, I got A's on my test, but I didn't like to do the homework. But one thing that I always loved was learning about history, because I do understand that to make sure that you don't go where you once were, you have to understand where you were. And that's the only way that you can protect yourself. But one thing I see about America, I'm not even going to blame it 100% on the youth. I'm going to blame it on America within itself, because in America we have this uh, theology that you have to be better than any and everyone. You have to. There's a keeping up with the Jones effect of what I like to call it. You always have to look like you're doing better than what you are. You always have to look like you're more successful than what you are. And if not, then you don't feel good yourself, and other people don't perceive you in that way or that manner. When in all actuality, when you look at these millionaires and you look at these billionaires, they're walking around in sweatpants. They got on a pair of K Swiss, and they have, a little white T-shirt on they got for Walmart, but they're walking around with $1 billion in their pocket. And I feel like that is that same type of mindset that our youth deals with, is that we are so worried about being better than the next man that we're not trying to help the next man. And that goes even through the past. You even see these kids today saying, and I'm guilty of it as well. Hey, man, I'm not like the brothers in the 60s. I'm a fight. We ain't like the brothers in the 60s. We're not going to march. We're not being marching peacefully. We're not Martin Luther King. I'm more of a Malcolm X. But the thing is, do y'all understand everything that they had to go through to even be able to complete the initiatives that they had even started with? There's a time and a place for everything. So I just feel like there needs to be more so of a bridging the gap between the older generation and the younger generation. And also, I think that may have to do a lot with, the late 80s and the early 90s during the crack epidemic, where a lot of the fathers were taken out of the home and we were raised by single mothers, just as myself, raised by a single mother. I did have a couple of good men in my life, but they were not my father per se. So with that alone, it creates a bit of a superiority toward any older individual, any older male, because you're looking at me like, how can you teach me anything? How can you tell me? You're not my dad. Don't talk to me like that. Don't speak to me like that. If my own father wouldn't teach me, then how can you teach me? And I feel like those play hand in hand in what we're dealing with today when we're talking about when the youth of today is talking about we don't need reparations. We just got to pull ourselves up by the bootstraps. But they don't understand, but when you're talking about you're pulling yourself up by the bootstraps, people have already had 400 years a head start on you. They never pulled themselves up by the bootstraps. You were the one that was making the boots and the straps and putting it on their feet so they could go walking if they weren't riding on your back. So just know that it's not about being better than, it's just about understanding where you came from and knowing where you do not want to go back to, and hopefully bringing the legacy of your ancestors with you so that can help empower you during these times.
I would like to expound a little bit on that right there, because in my opinion, a lot of the narrative that is perpetuated in the media and society, where you're supposed to elevate yourself better, it's supposed to be, forgive me if I sound ignorant, but the ones that migrate to America, not the ones that's already been established in America. We've been here, as you said, for so damn long. We no longer have to subscribe to that narration. Those that come from war-torn countries or poverty, they have to better themselves, and they have to match what we've already established in here in America. And as Black Americans, the descendants of slaves, they don't need to how do I say, better themselves. They just have to carry themselves better. That's it. What I'm saying.
Yeah. I agree with you 100%. But why do you think that the reason our community is not is not living up to a certain standard or holding ourselves to a certain level of expectations, or a certain level of certain values, and morals? Could it be because what do you think that stems from? Let me ask you, because I already know where I think it stems from, but I'll definitely say that it has a lot to do with, I feel like, the leaders in the community and the people that the media are pushing in front of us. We're speaking about KRS-One, we're talking about Chuck D, but I don't know if you're privy to this, but around the time where NWA came out, there was actually a meeting where all of the Jewish heads got together and they said, hey, listen, we need to have these brothers stop pushing all of this positive message because they're getting too strong. You had a lot of people that were from the Zulu Nation, a lot of people from the 5%, and they were all starting to gather together and learning knowledge of self. That is around the time that gangster rap came out. When NWA came out, that was the end of conscious rap. But I don't think that people know. It's not just that we wanted to hear about gang banging and shoot them up, bang, bang, bang. That was an agenda that was pushed onto the people, that was pushed onto the public, that was pushed onto the media. So that is the only thing that we had to digest.
Well, according to Cornel West, Dr. Cornel West book, reason why.
Hey, hold on.
Yes, the reason why
That's my man.
the music that we have listen that we hear and we listen to is because it's what sells.
Yes.
And so those individuals are the ones that are pretty much investing into this,
Mm-hmm.
and therefore that the conscious stuff, as Cardi B says, nobody's checking for that.
Nobody streams it. Yeah, she said nobody streams that. Nobody
Right.
streams it.
So therefore they if you wanted this culture, this art to exist beyond the 80s and 90s, they saying you needed some theatrics. And the theatrics have been gangster rap. Now, I'm not
Right.
going to lie to you. Gangster rap controlled hip hop for a period of time, and it's
It
still
did.
much prevalent in today's music. It's just a little bit more as you
Diluted.
not as diluted, but it's cryptic. It's encrypted.
Okay. Agreed.
You're
Yeah.
not of the culture. You're not going to be able to dissect it as easily. Yeah, as you
Right.
times have been showed me tonight that I'm still not a part of the culture because I wasn't able to. So,
Nah, you part of the culture, bro. I've heard a couple of your podcasts. I love the way you think, man. You think outside of the box. You're a free thinker. You don't care what nobody else says. You're gonna give it the way that you feel it, man. You're part of the culture. Part of being part of being hip hop is being yourself and not bending a folder for anybody. So you are that, man. You definitely are that.
If you know anything about South Central, Compton, or any of that,
yes,
what they were dealing with. They were dealing with the constant murders, the constant drive-bys, and womanizing, and all of the things that is deemed today as cancers in our society. But at that time, it was a movie to the outsider.
It really was, man.
Music, and they thinking that they're at a Schwarzenegger movie.
right.
and for that, it was our reality. And if you pay me to tell you about my reality, I'm not going to stop telling you until you stop paying me.
All right. So here's I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, for instance, today I'm watching television early this morning, and there's a Corona commercial. Now, if you know anything about Corona, it's been associated with the virus, coronavirus, right?
Coronavirus, yeah.
Who's the new star? Who is the new spokesperson for Corona beer? Snoop Dogg. Why? Because Snoop Dogg has been murder was the case that they gave me.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't think about that.
Now they have put a face and an idea to the beer and to the coronavirus. It's now
to the coronavirus as well.
And
that's crazy.
We can't be mad at Snoop for getting paid.
No, we definitely can't. But to back up off of that, and it just shows you how big of the agenda is, and it's really has to deal with the elitists because we all know that it came from China, more than likely. More than likely, it also came from Wuhan. But for the individuals, for the Black Americans and the Black people from Nigeria and all over Africa that are in China, you know that they have turned that against them. And they're saying that the Black people are the ones that are carrying the virus, and they're not letting Black people in the streets. They're not letting Black people in the stores. They're kicking Black people out of their apartments, leaving them on the streets, saying that they are the ones that are causing the virus. So I'm with you 100% because it's even like that with the colonizers that are in Africa. Like if you go to Nigeria right now, they have, the Chinese are basically, building all of the infrastructure. They're building the roadways. They're creating a lot of things for them. But at the same time, they are subjecting them to the same type of abuse and prejudice that we've seen in America. And now the Chinese that are in Africa are not letting Africans in the certain spots saying that they got the coronavirus. But that is crazy to me.
We're Black Americans, Blacks, period, around the world have been the punching bag of societies that they ever tried to become a part of, except we were in our tribes. Now, this is the whole point that you can go back on some of the tapes. I've said that we've been the punching bag society, but this is the whole thing. You mentioned the Israelians, the Hasidics earlier, and the control of the music. But honestly, if you ask them about their past, they have no qualms with telling you how much suffering they've done. That's what we do. We have to preach the suffering like they did. We have to tell everybody that talks to us, look, we suffer until they pay us to shut up. We have to
No, but
all of the suffering that we've done and not try to hide and think we're better.
right, exactly. And I think that's the problem. That's what I mean by the media is putting out this narrative, because it makes it sound like anytime that we are dealing with any abuse or any oppression, if somebody, you can't say because you're black. It's like, oh my God, they're pulling the black card. But it's not a card, it's my skin color. It's just really what it is. And I feel that because so many of us have gone through that, that it's like, you know what? I'm tired of bitching. I'm tired of complaining. I don't want to get my severance pay. I don't want to get my reparations. I don't want what's owed to me, because I don't want to look like I'm a freeloader. I don't want to look like I'm a do nothing. But in all actuality, you're just getting what has been owed to you, man. Every other race in this world, I mean, in this nation, has gotten their reparations in one form or another. And I'm not even talking about where reparations necessarily have to be money. It could be wiping the credit. It could be giving giving small business loans. You know what I mean? It could be if you have, wiping out all school loans. Wiping out all school loans. Giving Black Americans, you know what I mean? If you're I can't even speak tonight. It's been a long day. But if you're a descendant from slavery, then let's say that we'll go ahead and we'll give you the not free housing, but we'll make it easier for you to get a house. The same way as if you were in the military, they'll give you that house credit. Why can't we have those type of same things as well? I'm not even talking about money, because I want the infrastructure. Because at the end of the day, if you give $100 million to a dude that's a bum on the street, he's going to be broke in a week. No, I want to learn how to invest this money. I want to learn how to make my money double. I want to learn how to build a legacy for my family the same way that all these other communities have been able to build legacies for theirs. So that's what I'm saying when I'm talking about for us, as in we need to get what's owed to us, because how are we ever going to get a foot forward if we're always starting 20 feet back, man?
You're absolutely correct. And again, I like to expound on that. Now, education is the key. And how it starts is at the youth level, at the elementary level. You have to tell them the truth. You have to tell the evil of what America was about in the beginning. And in the beginning, they used human beings as I don't want to be nasty in a way, as animals, as
I was going to say workhorses, so we're on the same page. Well, I was going to say the same thing.
We were cattle, and
we were.
We were treated like such, sold off, and families
breeded, whatever needed to be done.
And as an American descendant of slaves, blacks, there a lot of people don't want reparations for what they call is guilt. They like the fact guilt. White America, every time it happens, something occurs. But what they don't realize is that white America is not feeling any guilt.
There is no guilt involved in America right now.
They put 7 shots in your back and keep it moving. Push it.
Go home, go to sleep, have a dinner, and tuck their babies in. Wife say, "Hey, how was your day?" It was wonderful. Have a wonderful sleep that night. No melatonin needed. Yes, there's no.
The only time that we have to say that we had some sort of positivity, and that was the little progression that we made in the 60s with the civil rights movement. After that, it's been 50 years, 60 years since that, and there has been no more progress since then. There has not discounting education in the universities. The HBCUs are not being treated like a real the other universities.
Yeah, like a collegiate university. Yeah, it's like a high standing university or not.
You get the Grambling games versus one of the Houston black institutions, and that's it. They got to stop. How do you say, hand feeding us and give us exactly what we deserve, and that is our full portion of what this country has been built to become. And instead of that, they decided to allow corporations to become human beings and human beings and build even more wealth on our backs. And we can't. We have everything that the blacks own is considered small business.
It is. Everything that we have is a small business.
Where's the corporations at? And then any ideas that we get that is considered our ideas, they eventually take, or they find someone to reproduce it in a cheaper version and put us out of business.
Exactly.
All we're asking for when they say, "What do you want?" We're asking for some sort of legitimacy and treatment. not give us the world. The gentleman, Blake, whatever knife he had, that I heard that there was a knife, he was in possession of a knife, was nowhere near threatening as the firearms that the police have. And they have to and this is where the situation lies. They have to recognize their power. They have to recognize their power over us, and they have to realize that either they're going to relinquish some of that power, or they're going to be better trained on how to wield that power.
Well, I think that you stated something that was very major in the beginning of when we were speaking about education. You know, there's a big problem with me. Like, one of the major hiccups that I have dealing with the police and this whole justice system, at least, is that when you're dealing with these police, none of them even have an associate degree. None of them even have a bachelor's degree. Only thing you need to become a police officer is a GED. Are you kidding me? So you're telling me that they're about to start making individuals that want to work at McDonald's have an associate's degree, have some type of a paper, but you can go around and carry a fully automatic weapon. I mean, carry a semi-automatic weapon and have the availability to be able to shoot anyone without being prosecuted, and you don't even necessarily have a 12th grade education. All you have is a GED, and that shows what it is right there. But I think that all stems from as well is where the police even came from in the first place. Don't forget that the police just started off as being overseers of the farm. I mean, overseers of the plantation. They're originally created just to keep slaves in line and to go ahead and capture them up if they got away or if they try to run or escape. That's where the original police came from. So I think that if we're talking about the police, then we need to, like, I am about defunding the police, but I do feel like it is necessary to have them. But I just don't feel like we need to have them in the capacity that we have them right now. But until some of them start being educated, I think that they need to be taken off the street. Because there's no reason why I have to get an associate degree to have a decent career while they can run around shooting people, making more than the teachers make.
Absolutely. And the idea of the law, it comes from Ireland. That's why the majority of the authorities are Irishmen. And but you're absolutely right. The idea of capture and hold and restraint is a philosophy of the overseer and the slave capturers. You're absolutely right. They meshed the two. They gave you the philosophy of law from Ireland, but they still have the tactics of slave capture of America. And the two doesn't mesh because
not at all.
In reality, they're only using the philosophy of law towards certain individuals, but they still capture and hold with the African American community. Now, Mr. Mav, I love talking with you, brother. And
you as well, man. Thank you.
And I'm glad that we were able to bond together again and make this a better relationship than what we parted last time.
Myself as well, man. Thank you very much. You know, I'm gonna invite you to my show as well. Hopefully, I can come back on to yours, and then maybe one day we can meet up in person as well, man. Like, you seem like a good person. You seem like a genuine person. I really rock with you, man. And like, I don't know if you're anything like me. Most of the time, anytime I have a combative situation with somebody, if we're able to, come to terms, it really makes the relationship stronger. You know what I mean? Because I have a greater deal of respect for that person. I know I can only push them so far. They know that they can only push me so far. We have a great level of respect, and I can't wait for the next time, brother. Keep doing what you're doing, man, David. It was an honor.
It's always better understanding when we say what we're thinking, when we express ourselves wholeheartedly and don't hold back. That's when the walls of ego and the walls of misunderstanding are broken down, and we're able to reach across the aisle to one another. And shout out to DC is where you repping now?
Oh, no, I'm in VA, man. I'm in VA, Woodbridge, Virginia, Prince William County, born and raised. I know that's what the hat said. I couldn't find a VA hat, so.
I understand.
But yeah, I'm Woodbridge, man. Woodbridge, VA.
And are you out there in the streets protesting?
Not as of yet, man. I just started working a new job. And to be honest with you, okay, so look, my birthday was August 25th. My anniversary was August 24th. My son's birthday was August 22nd. It's been crazy. I just started a new job as well. But trust me, I am going to be out there. You will see me.
Happy belated birthday, my friend, and happy belated.
I appreciate it.
God
Thank
bless
you, man. I appreciate you.
Thank
Peace,
you.
love, and shalom, brother. Take care.
Likewise. Thank you. Black Mav, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, the David Simon Show is building bridges that were once torn and burnt, and we're able to get things unified, absolutely. And we have similar ideas. It was just that my inability to communicate correctly in our first interview is what hindered us from being as close as we are now. I consider Mr. Black Mav as a friend, and he's spoken so much about his family. I know about his family. I'm almost a part of it now, as he is with my family as well. Thank you, Mr. Black Mav, for being such a gentleman and a scholar and an absolute phenomenal MC, as you heard him recite his wonderful verse in that 30 for 30 with the impeccable artist RO. Man, I almost feel like I don't want to browbeat you with no more of that pro-black stuff from the article of Jacob Blake, but I'm gonna wrap it up real quick so we can move on to some other things I want to talk about. Again, Blake was no threat. The 7 shots was excessive. The gentleman, the young man, the 17-year-old that they have a picture of him in the front row at a Trump rally. I believe his name is Rittinghouse or some to that extent. That young man is a display of the product of his environment. Just like they say that the criminal activity is in the black community, racism is in the Caucasian community, and if it's not checked, it's going to get out of hand to where there's not going to be any sit down, any sort of concessions or sort of a what do they call those detente? It's not going to be a detente. It might just be the constant rioting, constant protesting, constant destruction of property, constant retaliation of violence. I mean, as Black Mav said, the point of education that should be at a high plateau is the ones that are in the authoritative figures. These are the individuals that should seek nothing but psychology, nothing but understanding of philosophy and things like that, so that when they come across a situation like the Jacob Blake or Gregory Floyd, they know how to handle it in a more diplomatic way than I'm in control of you because I have been sworn in by the state. And that's what it is. It's control of the state. Should they have control? To an extent, yes, they should be able to understand the power that they have. And this is my number one suggestion and my number one request of whoever becomes the senior authority figure as president, because that's what they are. That's what the president is. They're the top police officer. That's why we go over to other countries and we try to police them, because that's what the president is. He's the number one police officer. And as the number one police officer, if you give gun-happy, gun-ho individuals the solemn oath that you're with them, salute, do as you see so fit, then yes, they're going to behave in a reckless behavior because they feel in their mind that they are in charge of individuals and they should be able to do as they please. And that's not what the law is. The law is supposed to protect and serve, to be so lame and lack of a better term. It's supposed to understand. It's supposed to make society a better than it was prior. Yesterday, we're supposed to be better tomorrow than we were today, and we're supposed to be better 2 days from today than we were going to be tomorrow. But if that's not the case, if we're just going to keep taking one step forward and 2 steps back, then there is something wrong with the system. The system has to be checked. Someone said something on a broadcast that I heard today that was kind of astonishing when they said, you don't hear these tragedies coming out of New York City that much. We had the incident where the officer choked out the gentleman from Staten Island. Dialect, what is his name? For selling Lucy cigarettes. We had that incident recently in New York, but we don't have just the massive shootings like we did with Eric Gardner. Thank you, Dialect. It's great to have you here. It's great to have Don Juan. It's great to have Architect 7 and Diva all joining me tonight in the live comment section via Twitch, via Facebook, via YouTube, Periscope. You can all join in the conversation. If you see this video, you can enter a comment. Yes, Eric Gardner. We had the Eric Gardner situation. We had the Amadou Diallo situation that was almost 25 years ago, and we're better today than we were back then. You understand what I'm saying? And that's where, if now we're pretty much taking the progress across the country. You understand? Liberal New York is easy to convey our thoughts to or try to get them to understand us. That liberal New York, liberal California, these are, after the Rodney King beating and such as gone on in Cali, we're able to convey to them that that's not right. But middle America, that's where it's going on. Ohio, Wisconsin, St. Louis, Minnesota. This is where we have to now take our liberal views, which some will think that is pussyfying America, but what it's doing is making the citizen safe. You have to have an associate's degree to be an NYPD officer. You do have to have a 2-year degree to be an NYPD officer. Should it be a 4-year degree? Who knows? Would that better the law enforcement that we have out there in the world, in America in particularly? Maybe we should insist on a 4-year degree to expound on what my man Black Man was saying. Maybe that's where we need to start it as of this coming presidency, this campaign here. When Ice Cube said he doesn't know what he should ask for, maybe that's where we should start. Maybe we should start with 4-year degrees for NYPD officers, and psychology has to be taken. Philosophy has to be taken. Some of these things also, what do they call it? Classic philosophies, ancient philosophies, ancient psychology, classic psychology, all of the stuff that went on where they dissect the mind in the beginning. Now, would this make the officer hesitant in a dangerous situation and unable to react in the manner of which the job calls for? We have to hope not. We've tried it this way where it's natural reaction. It's all instant. Your mind is constantly barred down with fear. We've worked through that. That's a scenario. It hasn't worked in the manner that we think it should have. So let's try it the other way. Let's try it with the 4-year degree. Let's try it with the psychological understanding, the philosophy understanding. Learn the psyche of the individual. Who's a danger? Who's not a danger? They do all of that in the FBI. If they get a 4-year degree, they go to the FBI. They don't become a police officer. Maybe we need that same mentality of a FBI agent as our police. It's something to think about. Something to think about. Because it's there, it's prevalent in our society, and we need to understand it. And that, again, we should have had counter programming. I'm the counter programming tonight for the Republican National Convention. I'm the counter program. I hope you're all joining me. Since there's no NBA on and most of your television network stations are covering that Republican National Convention of potential separation. They are separatists. The Republican National Committee are nothing but separatists. You understand? They are painting pictures about individuals they have never met. They are creating ideologies about people just off of, first it was M13. They were Mexicans. They were unemployed people, African American people, immigrants. They create images of people and make you want to say, no, I don't want those people around me. Separate us. Keep those people away from me. And we're not supposed to be separate. It is the United States. One comedian, Alexandro, oh man, I forget his first name. I follow this guy. He's very funny. And he said, let's just call it the States of America and omit United. He didn't say omit United, but I got the terminology that he was saying. You know, I follow certain people that I grew up with that have their own philosophies, and they believe that, you know, the authorities are right no matter what. 100% right. It's no matter what we want to think or what we want to believe, they are right, and whatever they do or whatever their decisions are. And that's a bad mentality, man. You don't give people that kind of power over another group of people, because their communities are not suffering the same. They say, oh, if he was a white man, they would have shot him in the back 7 times as well. That is false thinking. That is false a belief. It wouldn't have happened that way. It would not have happened that way. Was he wrong, Jacob Blake? I don't know what the situation led to them coming up to him. I don't know. As we said before, it wasn't stipulated in the article, so how could I know? All right, so I don't know anything. I just got mere suggestions, and the one suggestion I have, maybe they need a 4-year degree and a learning of philosophy and a learning of psychology. All right, moving on. The NBA will come back. I mean, these guys got to earn a living. I mean, LeBron James is almost a billionaire, but the 12th man on the bench, the 15th man on the bench, he's not a billionaire. He still needs the NBA. Same thing with the NFL, the same thing with Major League Baseball. There are people in the game that just plays just for the fun of it, or just, you know, because they have the ability. It's not because they're cashing big checks. Big checks only come in for certain individuals. Those are the ones that are able to protest. Those are the ones that's able to boycott. Those are the ones that's able to walk away from the game. There are individuals that still needs to make a living with this avenue of professional sports. Professional sports is actually redundant. It's just professional sports. And I feel myself being a little bit redundant. We'll talk about it a little bit more next week. Hopefully we'll have Mr. Blake up and around and talking. Well, let me rephrase up and around, because as we know, he's currently paralyzed, and they're saying it will take some work for him to possibly walk again. And we're all praying for that, right? Right. Now, last week I discussed the fact that New York City there is a fleeing of New York, a mass fleeing of New York City. I don't know if coronavirus is the reason, but that's what's going on. And I spoke about the empty apartments, the almost 1/3 of Manhattan apartments are vacant. And it was nowhere near, it's 50% more this time of year than it was last year. The rent is too damn high, which was a campaign run by some guy that was on a running for mayor. Let me see if I can find this article real quick about an individual that wrote about the mass fleeing of New York and the ideas that it's for the better. Don Juan, do you have that one? Let me see if this is it. No, that's Jerry Falwell. We're going to get into that a little later. I know what I'll do. I'll go to the scent. Bear with me, ladies and gentlemen. La da dee, la da da, la da dee, la da da. I know what I wanted to talk about with the NBA real quick before we move on. But I'll search the article while I discuss this. Montez Harrell. I think I said his name right. Montez Harrell. Yes, was having an affair with the pool boy. You can't make this stuff up. I don't know if that was an affair or if that was a cuckold situation with Mr. Farewell and his wife. But we're going to talk about that. I want to talk about Montez Harrell, who called Doncic. What's his name? Luka Doncic, the great white hope of the NBA right now. Everybody's claiming that he's the best that ever come along. They quickly forget about Michael Jordan. They even forgot about Larry Bird. This guy here is supposed to have been the best thing since sliced bread. And this guy, Montez Harrell, said, can you play it for me, Don Juan? But this is actually Ernie Johnson from NBA Tonight on TNT. Okay, we're not able to play it. There's no volume. He called a Luka a bitch ass white boy, and while he's sporting the how many more, the slogan for Black Lives Matter, and we're supposed to be playing for civility and society between different ethnicities. And Harold, where there's no crowd anywhere, there's no crowd, there's no announcers. The only ones that's on the court is players and referees. And this guy had the audacity to say, "You bitch ass white boy." And the NBA didn't do anything. And now you have to wonder if there was some sort of retaliation from that with the officers firing in that guy's back. What if he says, Black lives don't matter because they don't, white lives don't matter to them? Calling that kid, who is a foreigner, he's from foreign soil. I'm not sure which Latvia or Slavic country he's from, but they, to say you bitch ass white boy loudly enough where it could be repeated on the television show, the recap with Charles Barkley, Kenny the Jet Smith, Shaquille O'Neal, and Mr. Ernie Johnson. When you heard him, I couldn't believe he said it actually on the air. You bitch ass white boy. And you really have to wonder if the NBA was wrong not suspending Mr. Montez Harrell and saying, look, we can't have it on either side. He can't call you a bitch ass nigga, and you can't call him a bitch ass white boy. I know NL Aficionado thinks I'm on dangerous ground here. I'm going to be the one that start they should have been suspension. Absolutely. I might be the only one that gets suspended for saying these comments. But there should have been some sort of ejection immediately, something to say that we're not going to put up with it on either side. If it's become acceptable on one side, it's going to be acceptable on the other. Luka should have said, "You ugly ass nigga." That's what everybody's going to think, that he was at right to be able to say these things. I know I'm vulgar. I know I'm very, very nasty right now, but I can't be cryptic. I have to be straightforward. I have to, and layman terms, I got to be a straight shooter right now. I can't allow Montrezl Harrell to say that to Luka, who I'm not a fan of. I could care less about Luka, to be honest with you. I don't think he's that great. I think Kawhi should really step up his game and shut him down. I mean, he's 21 years old. Kawhi should be able to handle him with no problem like that. To allow him to be able to manipulate the game in the manner that which he done the not last game, but because last game they really put it to him like they supposed to. But the game prior to that, where he's hitting game-winning shots, you can't allow that. You got to foul him. You got to foul him. The Jordan rules should apply to him as it should apply to anyone else that gets out of hand. LeBron James, Kawhi Leonard. If they think that they're better than the rest of us, you Jordan rule them. So what, you get thrown out the game? So Bill Laimbeer didn't care about getting tossed out of a game. Dennis Rodman didn't care about getting tossed out of the game. Shout out to the Pistons of the early 1990s. Hi, my name is Luca. I live on the second floor. That's funny. Dialect 718, ladies and gentlemen. But yes, Montrezl Harrell should have been suspended, should have been reprimanded for his comments to Luka Doncic. I wish I knew how to say the guy's name. Okay, here's the article. It was in the New York Post. James Altucher was the author. Comedy club owner and former hedge fund manager James Altucher self-published this essay on Thursday, August 13th under the title, New York City's Dead Forever. Here's why. He granted the New York Post permission to reprint his piece in full below. I love New York City. When I first moved to New York City, it was a dream come true. Every corner was like a theater production happening right in front of me. So much personality, so many stories. Every subculture I love was in New York City. I could play chess all day and night. I could go to comedy clubs. I could start any type of business. I could meet people. I had family, friends, opportunities. No matter what happened to me, New York City was a net I could fall back on and bounce back up. Now it's completely dead. But New York City always bounce back. No, not this time. But New York City is the center of the financial universe. Opportunities will flourish here again. Not this time. New York City has experienced worse. No, it hasn't. A Facebook group formed a few weeks ago that was for people who were planning a move and wanted others to talk to and ask advice from. Within 2 or 3 days, it had about 10,000 members. Every day I see more and more posts. I've been in New York City forever, but I guess this time I have to say goodbye. I have been screenshotting them for my scrapbook. I guess the comments. 3 of the most important reasons to move to New York City: business opportunities, culture, and food. Commercial real estate, and colleges are also suffering. And of course, friends. But if everything I say below is even 1/10 of what I think, then there wouldn't be as many opportunities to make friends. Business, Midtown, Manhattan, the center of business in New York City is empty, even though people can go back to work. Famous office buildings like the Time Life skyscraper are still 90% empty. Businesses realize that they don't need their employees at the office. In fact, they realize they're even more productive without everyone back to the office. The Time Life building can handle 8,000 workers. Now maybe has 500 workers back. What do you mean? A friend of mine said to me when I told him. Well, that would be a friend of mine's asked me when I told him. Midtown should be called Ghost Town. I'm in my office right now. What are you doing there? I asked. Packing up, he said and laughed. I'm shutting it down. He works in the entertainment business. Another friend of mine worked at a major investment bank as a manager director. Before the pandemic, he was at the office every day, sometimes working from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. Now he lives in Phoenix, Arizona. As of June, he told me I had never even been to Phoenix, and then he moved there. He does all his meetings on Zoom. I was talking to a book editor who has been out of the city since early March. We've been all working fine. I'm not sure why we would need to go back to the office. One friend of mine, Derek Harperin, was convinced he'd stay. He put up a Facebook post the other day saying he might be changing his mind, Derek wrote. I'm not going to read that because it doesn't care. I picked this post out, but I could have picked one of the dozens of others. People say New York City has been through worse. New York City has always come back. No and no. First, when the New York City been through worse, even in the 70s and through the 80s when New York City was going bankrupt, and even when it was the crime capital of the U.S. or close to it, it was still the capital of the business world, meaning it was the primary place young people would go to build wealth and find opportunity. It was culturally on top of its game, home to artists, theater, media, advertising, publishing, and it was probably the food capital of the U.S. New York City has never been locked down for 5 months, not in any pandemic, war, financial crisis, never. In the middle of the polio epidemic, when little kids, including my mother, were going paralyzed or dying, my mother ended up with a bad leg. New York City didn't go through this. This is not to say what should have been done or should not have been done. That part is over. Now we have to deal with what it is. In early March, many people, not me, left New York City when they felt it would provide safety from the virus, and they no longer needed to go to work, and all the restaurants were closed. People figured, I'll get out for a month or two and then come back. They are all still gone. And then in June, during rioting and looting, a second wave of New York Cityers, this time me, left. I have kids. Nothing was wrong with the protests, but I was a little nervous when I saw video of rioters after curfew trying to break into my building. Many people left temporarily, but there were also people leaving permanently. Friends of mine moved to Nashville, Miami, Austin, Denver, Salt Lake City, Austin repeated again, Dallas, etc. Now a third wave of people are leaving, but they might be too late. Prices are down 50 to 30%, both on rentals and sales, no matter what real estate people tell you, and rentals soaring in the second and third tier cities. So they're saying that the other places that people are moving to are now going up higher. I read an article the other day that said that New York rentals are going down, actually. I don't know how true that is. I don't know what down is from $3,000. What's down? $2,200? That's still astronomical. I'm temporarily, although maybe permanently, in South Florida now. I also got my place sight unseen. My wife Robin was looking at listings around Miami, and then she saw an area we had never been before. We found 3 houses we liked. They're not telling you site where they are because they don't want the people to rush their places. She called the real estate agent. Place one just rented that morning, 50% higher than the asking price. Place number 2 also rented to New Yorkers. They came from New York for 3 hours, saw the place, got it, went back to pack. Place 3 available. We'll take it. The first time we physically saw it, was when we flew down and moved in. This is temporary, right? I confirmed with Robin, but I don't know. I'm starting to like the sun a little bit. I mean, when it's behind the shades and when I am in air condition. But let's move on for a second. Summary business or remote, and they aren't turning to the office. It's a death spiral. The longer offices remain empty, the longer they will remain empty. In 2005, a hedge fund manager was visiting my office and said, in Manhattan, you practically trip over opportunities in the street. Now the streets are empty. Now, to counter this article was my main man, who I said they pay $1 trillion for his show, Jerry Seinfeld. Seinfeld wrote, let's see if we can find this. Seinfeld defense of New York City. Now, Seinfeld's article is not in the Post. Seinfeld article actually made the New York Times. Hold on one second. Where is the article for Seinfeld? La da dee, la da da. Now, you know, Jerry. He wasn't funny here. He was just flat out scolding. Thank you, Dialect. I actually have it here, but you can follow. I mean, Don Juan. Don Juan is the producer tonight, ladies and gentlemen. If I make the mistake of referring to him as Dialect, please forgive me. Those pissy elevators did it. Well, Don Juan is actually not a New Yorker. He's one of those Austin, Dallas guys that the guy mentioned prior. When I got my first apartment in Manhattan, I almost did it in my Seinfeld voice. In the hot summer of 1976, there was no pooper scooper law, and the streets was covered in dog crap. I signed the rental agreement, walked outside, and my car had been towed. I still thought this is the greatest place I've ever been in my life. Manhattan is an island off of the coast of America. Are we part of the United States? Kind of. And this is one of the toughest times we've had in quite a while. Facts. But one thing I know for sure, the last thing we need in the thick of so many challenges is some putts on LinkedIn, wailing and whimpering. Everyone's gone. I want 2019 back. Oh, shut up. Imagine being in a real war with this guy by your side. Listen to him go. I used to play chess all day. I could meet people. I could start any type of business. Wipe your tears. Wipe your butt and pull it together, he says. He says he knows people who have left New York for Maine, Vermont, Tennessee, Indiana. I have been to all these places many, many, many times over many decades, and with all due respect and affection, are you kidding me? He says everyone gone for good. How the hell do you know that? You moved to Miami. Yes, I also have a place out on Long Island, but I will never abandon New York City ever. And I have been on stage at your comedy club, Stand Up New York, quite a few times. It could use a little sprucing up. If you don't mind me saying, or you don't mind me saying, but it says my saying, I wouldn't worry about it. You can do it from Miami. There's some other stupid things in the article about bandwidth and how New Yorkers is over because everybody will remote everything. Guess what? Everyone hates to do this. Everyone hates. You know why? There's no energy, attitude, personality can't be remoted through even the best fiber optic lines. That's the whole reason why. That's the whole reason many of us moved to New York is in the first place. You ever wonder why Silicon Valley even exists? I have always wondered, why do these people all live and work in that location? They have all this insane technology. Why don't they all just spread out wherever they want to be and connect with their devices? Because it doesn't work. That's why. Real life, inspiring human energy exists when we co- collage. I when we correlate together in crazy places like New York City, feeling sorry for yourself because you can't go to the theater for a while is not essential element of character that made New York the brilliant diamond of activity it will one day be again. You found the place in Florida. Fine. We know the sharp focus and restless, resilient, creative spirit that Florida is all about. You think Rome is going away too? London, Tokyo, the East Village? They're not. They change, they mutate, they reform because greatness is rare, and the true greatness that is New York City is beyond rare. It's unknown any place outside of New York City. You say New York will not bounce back this time. You will not bounce back in your inverrated pastel filled new life in Florida. Inverrated supposed to mean weak. You're weakened. Yes, thank you, Don Juan. I hope you have a long, healthy run down there. I can't think of a more fitting retribution for you, your fine article. This stupid virus will give up eventually, the same way you have. You're going to keep going with New York City if that's all right with you. We're going to keep going with New York City if that's all right with you, and it will sure as hell be back because of all the real tough New Yorkers who, unlike you, loved it and understood it, stayed and rebuilt it. Loved it and understood it, stayed and rebuilt it. So, Jerry taking aim at this guy in his article. See you in the club. Now, someone actually took aim at Seinfeld for his ridiculing of this gentleman in his article, which I thought was not necessary because Jerry was defending New York. Why would the New York Post publish an article where someone is from Florida supposed to be taking aim at Seinfeld? Jerry Seinfeld's defense of New York lands him in trouble in Florida. Lee Brown writes from the New York Post. Jerry Seinfeld's passionate defense of New York City vibrant future has made him the target of his own takedown for picking on Florida. Nobody was picking on Florida. He was just saying, you in Florida, fine. You stay there. I've been to the comedy club. It can use some sprucing up. Tampa Bay Times columnist Stephanie Hayes, a self-confessed lover of the Big Apple, initially praised the comedian for his flamethrower burn of James Altucher post column, calling Gotham dead forever, but stopped short when Seinfeld dragged the Sunshine State into the back and forth. He made some cogent and funny points, then dragged Florida into it, screaming from her dunes. Hayes complained of Seinfeld's co-ed, which she claimed painted Archer as having given up by moving to Miami, acknowledging that she was writing a column responding to a column and joking that it made it a portal to hell. Hayes said using Florida as the butt of the jokes was predictable and tired. For the 9,000th time, picking on Florida is punching down. It's pantsing the kid at the school whose only friend is an oddly smooth rock. Hayes said on her own home state. Now she's picking on Florida. Jerry has been shitting on Florida since the 90s, stealing marble rye bread from old ladies and shit. Well, she was in New York when he stole that old marble bread. She noted many of Florida's most obvious foibles, including being a phyletic state shape, and being saddled with the Florida man trope, most notably new resident Tom Brady. We are being pranked by God 24/7, Hayes wrote. What I don't get is why the provincial ping pong has to come at the expense of our state. She added, noting that Seinfeld also dunks on Maine, Vermont, Tennessee, and Indiana. He didn't. He was just saying New York is better. Why does New York get to be a place where dog crap is a celebrated quirk, but Florida is perpetually a punchline? There's a ton of dog crap in my yard, she said, joking of the expansion of Seinfeld gave for his first falling in love with the city. Is it too much to ask that outliers reach past the character of Florida? She asked. In turn, we will not bring up the guy in the Elmo suit outside TKTS, she joked. Times Square infamous booth for discounted Broadway tickets, as well as Hayes' critique. Seinfeld also got a return takedown from Archer, accusing him of denying reality. Failing to address problems won't save Gotham, he wrote in a follow-up piece in a post. All I'm saying here is that, yes, you have to be New York tough. New York is better, dialect. You're absolutely right. You have to be New York tough to stay here. Not currently. I have to look it up. Look, bottom line is, yes, New York is we're the ones that we bent the curve. We stopped the curve. The curve of the virus. We stomped it out. We were the epicenter of the pandemic. And what did we do? We got New York tough on it, and we beat that virus. Now, there could be a second wave that can wipe out everyone in New York City, including myself. But currently, we won round one. Everyone else is struggling. New California had it during the time that we had it, and they're still struggling with it. We've been lucky that our governor, Andrew Cuomo, was able to galvanize New York City every day with his briefings, telling us to continue to wear your mask. Listen, I see people talking about people that wear their mask every day. They're supposed to be some sort of some sort of a fool or able to be controlled. We're supposed to be supremely docile or somewhat subservient of some sort. But that's not what it is. If the pandemic was to be stopped as if we wear masks, what we are is diligent. What we are is disciplined. What we are is a part of the solution. We don't want to be a part of the problem. You see, a lot of people got these thoughts that, I'm not going to wear a mask because people tell me, because Donald Trump doesn't wear a mask or whatever. You wear a mask, you're a Democrat. Or that is stupidity. These people are leaving New York because they could not handle what it took to be a New Yorker. It's not easy. You understand? I wear my mask everywhere. I don't have my mask on now, but as soon as I get off the air, I'm going to put my mask back on. I enjoy my mask. I love my mask. I drive with my mask alone. I don't care what anyone say. Oh, you should smack someone in the back of the head if they're driving around and with a mask on. What are you, crazy? God forbid I forget my mask. I'm in an establishment today, or maybe yesterday. The days are getting confused. And a young lady came in. It was today, actually. The young lady came into the establishment without a mask. The people actually go get a mask. She sucked her teeth and left with upset because she didn't have her mask and she wasn't allowed to enter the establishment. And yes, it is sort of a what's the word I'm looking for? It's a separatist thing, solution, a united approach, not some desensitized 50 states 50-state solution. This is a virus and our passports are almost invalid. Absolutely. If you don't have shirt, sneakers, pants, you can't go into a restaurant. You're not allowed to walk into these establishments without these things. And now they should put masks on as well. I mean, People were wearing, people were wearing masks when I was a child, and I thought it was weird. I would see a person from, they would look like they were just coming from someplace other than America. They were immigrant, and they would walk around with a face mask. And I didn't understand it. I said, that's crazy. Why would they need a mask if they're not a doctor? But I'm a child. I was stupid. I didn't understand anything. Now I can see why they would have the mask on, because, when they first came, ski masks are not the same thing. When they first came to America, the Pilgrims, and they used smallpox to wipe out the Native Americans, that should have been an indication then that if you go to a foreign land, just like if you go to a foreign world, if you go to a new universe, they wear the whole getup, the whole suit, the NASA suits. Going to an alien country is just like going to an alien planet. What is healthy for you is not healthy for everyone. And now America is so inundated with immigrations. Not that I'm speaking poorly about immigrants or trying to say that we should build a wall or anything. I'm just saying we should wear a mask, at least, to protect ourselves from their germs and keep them from getting our germs. What's wrong with that? That is a civil concession that we should all be able to make. Wearing a mask now, the washing of the hands, if that's what you choose to do, I wear 2 pairs of gloves every day. When I leave my house, I wear gloves. I wear a mask and gloves. This is to protect me, and this is also to protect you. Now, if you don't see it that way, then there's something wrong with you. You understand? And for one person thinking that Seinfeld is knocking Florida, please. People in Florida have bumper stickers that say the last person that leaves Florida, bring the American flag with you. The last American that leaves Florida, bring the American flag with you. So, Florida has their own problems. You don't need Seinfeld to knock Florida. All he's saying is that it's not better than America. Hey, the Billy Joel song, Miami, that may be true. We may be fleeing New York eventually from the flooding or whatever have you, and we may end up all in Florida. The fact that a virus is politicized is crazy. Absolutely. Good evening, Mr. Hart. Absolutely. The fact that the pandemic, New York, I really love Seinfeld. Must be a New York thing. You don't love Seinfeld? It must be an out of New York thing. Seinfeld he's an activist here in New York. But what I'm saying here is that if you don't understand that the essential needs for those masks at this current state, and maybe the duration of your life, maybe putting masks on your children now is the best thing that ever happened. Now, I don't know about the social distancing in school and how that's going to work. I don't know about this guy, and he's talking about, we can remote everything. We can remote. He has kids. How can he think that he can remote everything and he has children? What he's going to put him? What are his children going to be? Bubble boys and girls? We have to find some way to eradicate this virus completely so we can get back to some way of civility where children can go back to school and be inside of an environment where they can bond. He's talking about he meet people. That was the best thing about New York, making friends, building businesses. This stuff cannot happen without the faculties of school. So his children should be denied the same opportunities that he had. He thinks he's going to Florida, he's going to get away from the virus. Now, if he would have told me that, Florida is so much cheaper, it's actually getting more expensive, according to his article, it made his argument completely null and void. Because everything that he would be facing here in New York, he's going to face in Florida. Because Florida has a Republican governor that allows people to travel to the beach and spread the virus. That's a good thing? That's what you're looking for? You're looking for the virus? I don't understand it. And I'm talking to you people as if you understand me, and I know you don't. My reading comprehension is not great. My explanations are not great. My ability to communicate is not great. It's all not great. But what I'm saying here is I'm trying to give you a heads up that that you don't knock the mask. The mask is good. Keep the mask on. Even when the pandemic is over, when the virus is destroyed, we don't know what will be next. And it's all aerosol. It's all aerosol. The virus is all aerosol. So that means you could be in a conversation, you could be in the office, you could be at school, you could be on a train, you could be on a bus, anything, sneeze, boom. Another. The majority of people that left New York City during COVID lived in Corona. Dialect, everyone. Another pandemic is what I'm saying. I mean, they got different styles of mask. They got rhinestone mask. They got team mask. They got corporation mask. Get you a mask. Wear your mask. Don't care what no one says. Anyone that says that you're crazy for wearing your mask obviously don't know history. Obviously don't know what they're facing. Some kids are going to school, private schools. There will be a huge gap soon. Yes, you're absolutely right. Some educational institutions have not closed. They have continued to carry on business as usual. Not I. I'm still carrying on business as usual, but it's with a mask. It's with some protection. And someone, a female said, if you don't wear a mask in today's time, that tells me you don't wear condoms during sex. I know it's a far-fetched reach, but it's something to think about. Are you going to protect your health with a mask like you would protect your Johnson with a condom? Is your Johnson more important than your health? Did you smash after she said that? I wish, dialect. It's been so long since I smashed. I don't even know how to smash. That's why I'm reading these articles. I got nothing better to do. Well, struggle through these articles. I ain't got nothing better to do. I'm starting a mask company called Face Panties. That's up to you, architect. That's fine. As long as they come scented and flavored, I'll invest. All I'm saying to you out there is that New York is still the greatest city in the world as it was prior to the pandemic. But the only thing that has crippled New York City is the incessant increase in pricing. You see, the wealthy don't want the poor anywhere near them. So they have priced the apartments and rentals and things like that so astronomically that the poor cannot associate with them. And that is a problem New Yorkers have to deal with. And you know what? Big up to the homeless that I mentioned last week that sprawled out all over the city. Because you people raised the prices on the apartments. They don't have no place to stay. Sprawl out. Get you some cardboard, lay out in front of Park Avenue. Do it. Show them what their money-hungry greed has caused the city. Make them all go to Long Island like Seinfeld does when he wants to get rid of the homeless. All right. We had a big night tonight. We had a good night. Thank you to Black Man for coming through and us patching up things. Homeless is no laughing matter. God bless them. It's not a laughing matter. But if they need something to do, we can strategically use them as a symbol of the struggle of America, the struggle of New York City. It's not a laughing matter. I might have cracked the smile, but ain't a damn thing funny. If you were here last week, you would have known that I've been trying to figure out a way to help the homeless. Not wearing a mask in 2020 is an act of selfishness. It's like someone giving you the bird. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. Check out last week's show where I discussed the situation with the homeless and being accosted by them and what it's doing. A lot of truth to the condom use and wearing a mask. I'd be checking women the same way. Absolutely. Absolutely. I'll read some comments right now since I haven't read them all tonight. With the look of women's panties, but mask for a man's face. With the look of women's panties, but mask for men's face. Okay, I get it. I understand it. I like it. I'm down with it. But yeah, we're platoon the homeless and we're sending them strategically scattered all over the city of the wealthy, and let them see what their carelessness and greed has done. I wish I knew where Jeff Bezos lived. I would gather them all up and I'll take them to Jeff Bezos' house. I'll take them to Tim Cook's house. Not to be facetious at all. Seriousness. New York will bounce back. It is the food culture capital of America. Some would say Paris is the food capital of the world. Some would say Italy. Hey, give me some pork fried rice and 4 chicken wings, and I'll say China. So everybody has a preference. But New York offered it all. We offered you some French food, we offer you some Italian food, and we offer you some Chinese food, and we offer you some soul food. Have you been to Dallas BBQs? Join me next week as I'm not sure beef and broccoli with extra duck sauce. No, you need some pork fried rice, dialect. Put some pork in your life, boy. How you going to be a brother without eating pork? When the war happened, pork is going to be all that's left. I'll see you eating some bacon then, brother. My Muslim brother. I had Chinese food today. It was amazing. Exactly. And he's not in New York. So he's able to get Chinese food somewhere else in America that's just as good as it is in New York. But it's not. Trust me. I've had Chinese food elsewhere. It is nowhere near good as New York. I had pizza elsewhere. Nowhere as good as New York. I'm not leaving New York because I can't afford to leave New York. I can't afford to live in New York, and I can't afford to leave New York. I'm in the hell that is called a dilemma, or a dilemma that is called hell. I think that's the way the phrase goes. I'm in a dilemma that's called hell. Pork is an American as Miss Piggy and Paula Dean. Thank you, Don Juan. I'm glad you still eat some pork. Yes, like I said, join me next week. I can't announce any guests at the current moment, but hopefully we'll have one. If not, we'll be able to struggle through some articles, talk a little about where we are. Hopefully the NBA be back in action. Game 5s that was canceled, postponed today, will take place. Pork will kill you. Dialect is in Atlanta. You mean to tell me they haven't forced a pork chop down your throat yet? A little bit of chitlins on your plate. You eat collard greens? They got pork in the greens. They put pork in everything in Atlanta. You eat cornbread, it's got pork in it. I'm David Simon. This is the David Simon Show. Join us next week. Be good, ladies and gentlemen. If you can't be good, all things pork in the South. That's right. Be good at being bad. Peace.